Now I'm strong, and I can say it. Goodbye, Joe. I'll see you around. Goodbye, Joe. I wanna be free. Goodbye, Joe.
Never run for office before. I would label myself, if I have to give myself a label, a conservative. I'm a Republican. I was born a Republican, raised that way, and that's because my parents believed firmly that individual responsibility, individual liberty, freedom, all the things that we all believe in this room are really important, and they raised me that way. You pulled yourself up by the bootstraps. You didn't expect the government to come in and to fix everything for free. I don't want the government to fix everything for me. I want to rule my own life. And after the election last fall, I started to realize what was going on because more and more people were calling me and saying, you have to run for office. My friends, my neighbors, my family. And I started to think about it. If they want me to do something, this must be a bigger problem than I first thought it was. I thought we were going to get change, and instead of getting change, that's all I've got left. I want tonight to basically say, I'm here as a job applicant. You are going to be my boss. When I go to Washington, I will be serving you for as long as you decide you need me there. I really firmly believe in what the Patriots and the Tea Party Patriots in Connecticut are doing, and I've been working with them for a long time. I'm not used to going out and doing a lot of public speaking, but I started back in April, and it's been a fantastic awakening in the state. It's unbelievable. It just, I feel so happy going out. People tell me, you're smiling all the time. I said, well, do you have to be upset? The only thing that really bothers me about running for office is that my kids say, Mom, now we have to say you're a politician. And that one kind of gets me. I don't know how to quite explain it to them, but I have been involved in politics throughout my life. My parents are Goldwater people. I was a Reagan delegate to the Republican National Convention in Kansas City back in '76 when I was just 18 years old. And I was involved in Republican politics in the party because I do believe it begins at the lowest levels, our neighbors. And what we can't do in our towns, then we ask the state to do for us. But only when we can't do it for ourselves. Then at that point, we go to the federal government for things like national defense because you and I can't do that. But beyond that, we really don't need the government in our bedrooms and doing for us. We should only do what we ask them to do. Now, after college, I thought what I'd do, since it's a job interview to me, is I'd tell you really quickly, in 3 more minutes maybe, what I'm about. I was born and raised in Connecticut. My dad joined the Foreign Service, and we moved to the D.C. area. And I've always had an interest in foreign affairs. I went to work for the State Department, too, as a China trade specialist doing dual-use nuclear military technologies. I worked at the State Department for 10.5 years while I went to grad school and then full-time later on. Eventually, I received a presidential appointment under Ronald Reagan and specialized in crisis management and East Asian politics. I speak Chinese. What I can tell you is I learned a lot while I was in D.C. One of the things that I learned, something that we all know. You put your pants legs on I can't even talk, I'm not one of the polished politicians. You put your pants on one leg at a time. That politicians are just other people. They're nothing special. And it was fantastic during the time I worked in Washington because I saw the good, the bad, the ugly, and I remained principled. I didn't change when I was down there. When my kids were born, I came back to Connecticut because I wanted them raised with church and community and values, all the things that I grew up with. And I wasn't planning on going back into politics. I was actually teaching at a university and I had a small business. In my younger days, I was a volunteer firefighter. I was involved in my community. When I came back to Connecticut, my kids loved it here, and so did I. And I had no intention of going back down until about March. And by March of last year, I just had it with what was going on in Washington. So I joined up with the Tea Party movement, with Team Sarah, different groups, and started getting really active. And in the spring, I formed a group called the Constitution Brigade. And I had a blast. I finally got to say everything I was feeling. It was such a relief because it was frustrating knowing what Washington was doing to us. I didn't like it. But I also want to be very positive. So we have an 8-foot-high Statue of Liberty. We take it around to events. You may have seen us at different Tea Party events in Norwich, in Hartford, in Ridgefield, or Stamford, different places where I've been. And we talk about the Constitution. That's our guarantee against tyrannical government. And as long as we have that Constitution, we follow what the Founding Fathers said, we can still have diversity in the country. We're not asking that everybody think exactly like we do. We're just asking our leaders to follow that Constitution. Now, right now, I go out and I hand out copies of it, and in the back, if you're interested, that's one of my main campaign handouts. I hand them out by the thousands. As a matter of fact, Heritage Foundation, where I buy the pamphlets, said I'm one of the largest purchasers in the United States of these pamphlets. So I thought, wow, isn't it amazing that somebody in eastern Connecticut, in a liberal state, where there's only small towns really outside the coastal area, is the largest purchaser of this really important document. Well, guess what? Connecticut gets it. I tell everybody, and my friends in D.C. and elsewhere, guess what? We're going to be the state that leads the country back. We got rid of Dodd. We dumped Dodd. We can can Courtney, too. Yeah. And you know what? I am going to go to Washington, and I'm going to come home when I'm done, and I'm going to continue raising my kids. Because we don't need career politicians. And I'd love to answer questions. Please, there's lots of info back there. Thanks.